Imagine the most powerful man on earth, commander of the largest empire in the known world, ruler of over 70 million people, sitting alone in a military tent somewhere along the cold Danube River, writing in a journal he never intended anyone to read. Not writing orders, not writing history, writing reminders to himself, telling himself to be patient, to be humble, to stop caring what people think. That man was Marcus Aurelius, Roman Emperor from 161 to 180 AD. And those private notes became one of the most read books in human history. What you are about to hear was not written for you. It was written for him as a daily exercise in becoming better. The fact that it survived nearly 2,000 years and still reads as if it was written this morning tells you everything about how deep these ideas go. The original title wasn't even Meditations. In Greek, Marcus called it ta eis heiauton, roughly translated, things to himself. Personal notes, a man talking himself off the ledge over and over again across 12 books written during years of plague, war, and political betrayal. We will move through this book by theme, not in strict order, because Marcus himself didn't write it that way. He circled the same ideas repeatedly, the way you'd rehearse something you keep forgetting. We will do the same. Let's begin.
On waking up, the morning resistance. Marcus writes, and this is one of the most immediately practical passages in the entire book. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm? He continues, but it's nicer here. So you were born to feel nice instead of doing things and experiencing them? Don't you see the plants, the birds, the ants and spiders and bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order as best they can? And you're not willing to do your job as a human being? That's Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, writing to himself about not wanting to get out of bed in the morning. The man who commanded legions had the same Monday morning feeling you have. What this looks like in practice. Marcus is describing what we now call behavioral activation, the idea that action comes before motivation, not after. You don't wait to feel ready. You move first. The feeling follows. His practical method? The night before, decide specifically what your first task will be when you wake up. Not a mood or intention, a single concrete action. When the alarm goes off, that task is already decided. Your only job is to start it. The resistance isn't a sign something is wrong. According to Marcus, and modern behavioral psychology tends to agree, the resistance is simply what the beginning of a task feels like. It passes once you move.
On other people, the morning preparation. Begin the morning by saying to yourself, I shall meet with the busybody, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. All these things happen to them by reason of their ignorance of what is good and evil. This is one of the most striking passages in the entire book, not because it's pessimistic, but because of what follows. He doesn't stop there. He continues. But I who have seen the nature of the good, that it is beautiful, and of the bad, that it is ugly, and the nature of him who does wrong, that it is akin to me. I can neither be injured by any of them, for no one can fix on me what is ugly, nor can I be angry with my kinsman, nor hate him. Read that again slowly. He's saying, before you leave the house, accept that difficult people will appear today. Expect it, and prepare your response in advance, not with armor, but with understanding. What this looks like in practice. This is a Stoic technique called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of difficulties, not pessimism, preparation. Each morning, take 60 seconds. Mentally rehearse 1 or 2 realistic friction points you'll likely encounter that day. A slow colleague, a difficult email, someone who interrupts you. Then decide in advance how you will respond, calmly, and why. The goal isn't to lower your expectations of people. It's to stop being surprised by human nature, so that when it shows up, you're already steady. Marcus did this every single morning, not occasionally, every morning. That's the practice.
On control, the central idea of the entire book. From Book 6, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. 6 words that restructure everything. You have power over your mind. Not your circumstances, not other people, not outcomes. Your mind. This is the central axis around which all 12 books of meditations rotate. Everything else is commentary on this one idea. From Book 4, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is perhaps the single most quoted line from the entire book, and for good reason. It inverts how most people think about obstacles. Most of us treat obstacles as delays. Marcus treats them as the work itself. The friction is not interrupting your progress. The friction is what progress is made of. From Book 8, confine yourself to the present. 3 words, an entire philosophy. Not the regret of yesterday, not the anxiety of tomorrow. The present moment is the only place where action is possible. What this looks like in practice. Marcus used a daily exercise of 2 columns. On one side, what is within my control right now? On the other, what is outside my control? The practice isn't passive acceptance. It's a deliberate sorting, so your energy goes to the first column, not the second. A modern version? When you feel overwhelmed, write down what is actually bothering you. Then mark each item, mine or not mine. You'll find that the majority of what causes anxiety sits in the second column. Not because life is unfair, but because anxiety naturally drifts toward what we cannot control. Return to what is yours. That's where your power actually lives. Section 5, on time and mortality, the uncomfortable reminder. From Book 4, confine yourself to the present. Thou wilt not leave behind thee a name, and thou wilt not be remembered. Look back over the past. How many empires have risen and fallen? The men who seemed immortal, where are they now? Marcus was obsessed with impermanence, not morbidly, practically. He used the awareness of death as a clarifying tool. From Book 2, do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. The hour of your death hangs over you. While you are still living, while you still have the time, while you still can, make yourself good. He wasn't writing this to readers. He was writing it to himself. The Emperor of Rome needed to remind himself that he was mortal, that the urgency to be good, to do what matters, could not be deferred. From Book 6, think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. What this looks like in practice. This practice is called memento mori. Remember that you will die. It sounds dark. It is the opposite of dark. Marcus's practical version. Once a week, ask yourself one question. If today were my last day of this chapter of life, would I have left the important things unsaid or undone? Not as a performance, as a genuine audit. The point is not to manufacture urgency or anxiety. The point is that most of what we spend our attention on, minor slights, small irritations, the opinion of people we don't deeply respect, dissolves completely under this question.
What remains after that question is what actually matters. Marcus spent 20 years trying to live inside that remainder.
On doing good, the quiet duty. From Book 9, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That sentence lands differently every time you read it. Not think about being good, not plan to be better, not discuss the theory of virtue. Be one, now, in this moment, with what is in front of you. From Book 7, the first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. From Book 10, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Simple, almost embarrassingly simple. And yet, what this looks like in practice. Marcus wasn't describing grand gestures. He was describing micro-decisions, the small, constant choices about how to speak, how to act, whether to say the thing that is true or the thing that is easy. His practice was the end-of-day review. Each evening, 3 questions. What did I do today that I'm genuinely proud of? What did I do that fell short of who I want to be? And, critically, what will I do differently tomorrow? Not a harsh self-judgment, a quiet audit. The same discipline he brought to running an empire applied to running himself. The philosopher king wasn't someone who had achieved perfection. He was someone who checked every single day.
On people, love, and tolerance. From Book 7, receive without pride, abandon without struggle. From Book 8, people exist for one another. You can instruct or endure them. That second line sounds harsh until you sit with it. It's actually deeply generous. Marcus is saying other people are your opportunity, either to teach or to practice patience. There is no version of human life that doesn't involve both. From Book 6, when you wake up in the morning, think about the precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. And then this, which is perhaps the most human thing Marcus ever wrote. From Book 1. In the very first book, Marcus does something unusual. He lists every person who shaped him, his grandfather, his father, his teachers, and what each one gave him. He thanks them specifically. Rusticus, who taught him to read carefully. Apollonius, who taught him freedom of will. Sextus, who showed him what a man of kindness and dignity looked like. The most powerful man in the world spent the first pages of his private journal being grateful for the people around him. What this looks like in practice, Marcus's habit here is direct and replicable.
Why this book still exists. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, most likely from the Antonine Plague, the same pandemic that had devastated his empire for years. He died near the front lines, still working, still commanding. He never published these notes. As far as we know, he never intended to. Someone, we don't know who, preserved them. They survived the fall of Rome, the Middle Ages, and nearly 2,000 years of history, appearing clearly in the historical record only in the 10th century. They were first printed in 1559. They have never been out of print since. Why does a private journal survive longer than empires? Because Marcus was not writing philosophy. He was writing a practice, the daily work of trying to be a better human being. And that work does not age, because the friction it addresses does not change. The busybody Marcus expected every morning still exists. The temptation to stay in bed still exists. The pull toward anger, toward anxiety, toward caring too much about the wrong things still exists.
The man who struggled with all of it and wrote himself back to steadiness every single day for 20 years, that man is still useful. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think.